Hi all, it's Andy here again from Solar Reviews, and today I'm lucky enough to be here with John Sheldon from Renu Energy Solutions. John's company is based in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yes.
And they're a company that's been around for quite a long time now. They've been installing for about 12 years.
Yep.
They've been a Solar Reviews customer for quite a long, and partner in our site for quite a long time now. And so, as you know, for any of you that sort of listen to me talk about companies over the years, you know, that longevity in business, the longer somebody's in business, it suggests to me they're doing something right.
Yeah.
So I'm really keen to sit down with John and hear more about Renu Energy Solutions and pick his brain about what's going on, you know, in his markets, particularly in the Carolinas. And so, John, welcome, mate, and tell us a bit more about Renu Energy Solutions.
Absolutely. Renu Energy Solutions is a residential and commercial solar integrator. Yeah. We install solar systems, battery systems, and electric vehicle chargers. And we have around 5,000 installations, around 5,500 in North and South Carolina, a little bit of Georgia and Virginia. So really just the Southeast market. And we're about 150 employees. We're family owned. We've been in business, like you said, about 12 years, and you know, it's something that we care deeply about, the growth of the industry, the customer satisfaction, as well as the longevity of the company, so that we can be there for our customers long term.
And Jay was the founder of the company.
And great guy, excellent leader.
Tell me about his philosophy, or what makes Renu Energy Solutions like. Why do you like it?
Well, no, we love it because he's got a great spirit, number one, great human as a founder, as a leader, someone who really cares about his employees and about his customers. But also has this vision of the industry where it's like a golden triangle where the customer is taken care of, the company's taken care of, and the industry is taken care of. All three have to work in harmony so that there's a balance and there's a longevity. If any one of them gets a little bit more selfish, it starts to affect the other ones. So Jay's got this vision of us for sustainability, for us and longevity. Not only growing the industry, but growing customer satisfaction and really creating a company that can provide jobs and incomes for the families that it serves in the communities they live in.
Awesome, man. And tell me what you see. The Carolinas as markets, you know, I wouldn't know anywhere near as much as you would about those specific markets, but they've always been a bit up and down, and, you know, the incentives there, they've been really good at times, and they've come, and then they go away. Tell me, give me an update on particularly those two states, North and South Carolina, about where we're at with net metering, what incentives are in the market now, where we're up to in that sort of, it's a yo-yo. Probably any other state, it's been like a yo-yo. You know?
It's shocking, but you know, North and South Carolina are like in the top 10 for solar in the country, right? People are surprised by that fact. But those incentives do come and go. Presently in South Carolina, there's a 25% state tax credit. That's an income state tax credit. With the new 30% federal tax credit, those combine for 55% of the cost that gets recovered through taxes. That's a significant return on the investment over the life of the system. And it's really helping us stay stable in South Carolina. The two major utilities, Dominion and Duke Energy, they have net metering, but they also have time of use. Time of use is becoming more and more prominent, and there's been some really benefits with batteries and storage. Once you combine that with solar during a time of use.
Does the state tax credit cover the battery as well? Do you get that on the solar and the battery?
Absolutely, you can do both. It's an energy efficient product, so you can combine those two together. And it goes a long ways as to seeing the money back to you, not only on your electric bill, but in the cost. North Carolina, it's the 30% federal tax credit. Right, there isn't a state tax credit in North Carolina. That was once but not anymore. The Duke utility does have a rebate program available. It's kind of like a lottery system. It's in its last year, so the funds for that rebate program are about to fully evaporate and be utilized. It's done a lot of good for getting solar in North Carolina. And we're hoping that something like that comes to replace it. Lots to be seen with that.
Are you involved with the local association there and trying to help lobby, as one of the bigger installers there?
Yes, we're a part of the Sustainable Energy Association there, and based out of Raleigh. And there's a lot of great people who work very, very hard on the policies, regulations, to really help make sure that Duke stays a utility that's going to be solar favorable. And so recently there was some discussions around time of use in North Carolina. It's still net metering, which is great because we're waiting and learning around what's going on in South Carolina with some of their time of use programs. So it's it's kind of a wait and see a little bit, but because the SEIA has been able to kind of push it back, NCA, North Carolina Sustainable Energy Association, because they've been able to sort of stall out some of the legislation to move forward with time of use, we're still seeing a lot more security around, hey, it's net metering, and we can pass that information to the homeowners. They can have confidence in their bill savings, confidence in their rate schedule.
So if they buy in North Carolina right now, they can lock into a 10 or 15 year net metering contract, and then they don't have to worry about what happens. So probably if you're in North Carolina, it makes a lot of sense to get your panels on, you know, relatively soon. Even though we've got 10 years of the new tax credit, you want to get in while there's still net metering.
Absolutely. It's one-to-one credit, right? So if you give it to them at 15 cents a kilowatt hour or 10 cents a kilowatt hour, you're going to get that credit back to you at night. And that's a significant way of seeing the value of solar. But for us at Renu, we're seeing energy storage is the fastest moving product segment for us. Even more than EV chargers. Unlike a lot of the other installers out there, we have an energy storage specialist department. It's a team who focuses strictly on right sizing the batteries for the homeowners. So they will look at what the homeowners' demands are, what their energy needs are, what their wishes and desires are for backup and an outage, and properly put them with the right brand product. So if it's a Generac battery, if it's a Tesla Powerwall, if it's an Enphase Encharge battery, you know, we will play around with these different options. To find out what's the best value for the homeowner.
I think that's a good point. I've made the point in a couple of my videos that not one battery suits all people, because often people will ask someone like me, you know, out of all these new battery solutions, which one's the best? And it really does depend a little bit on your circumstances. You might not need a 13 kilowatt battery. You might be better off, you might be fine with a smaller one that'll be a lower cost for you, because you may never generate, you know, that many excess kilowatt hours of solar if you've got a small roof, you know. So I'm glad, you know, it's good to hear that, because there are some complexities around the use of batteries.
Very complex. That technology is evolving as we speak. It's one of the fastest moving segments. Our adoption rate right now is about 65%.
Wow, that's
almost 7 out of 10 people are getting solar and battery from Renu. And it's because of the value we're able to create through explaining and understanding what are your goals for the future. Do you see any changes in your energy consumption? And then adjusting it to the rate schedule from the utility. So if there's certain times of day that the house is going to get more sun on certain locations, that matters in time of use. And then we'll size a battery that's going to capture and utilize that, so that it's using it at it's discharging the battery at times where it's more expensive. Right? So there's actually at Renu Energy Solutions a battery specialist department, and that energy storage specialist can evaluate what's the solar system you're looking at, how much power will you have left over, what size battery is right, how many batteries should we have, and if you look at things like air conditioning, well, we're looking at a specific type of battery for that. You know, if you're really just looking for some basic lighting, internet and out receptacles in your house, it's a different kind of battery for that. We'll fine tune the value so you're getting a good investment.
Have you seen the new calculator on the solar calculator on SolarReviews that we did in the last?
You guys have done fantastic updates.
Have you seen the battery stuff now, where you can choose which battery option you want? And so basically, you know, you can choose whether you want to just store the excess kilowatt hours, and then we'll size the battery, you know, appropriately. You can choose if you want to size your solar and battery so that you can run all night on a standard day.
Love that.
Or you can choose off-grid, and you can just put in your loads that you want to service and how long you want to service. It is sick. Like, credit to our engineering team in New Jersey.
It's really fantastic.
It's really cool, man. And it's available. It's not behind any sort of registration or paywall. Anyone in the country can use it. And so it really is a cool product. We're really proud of it.
The reason I see significant value from that calculator is this level setting expectations with homeowners before we meet with them. Because we don't necessarily, as the installer, want to be the first person that you ever hear this information from. It's one of the reasons we value SolarReviews so much, because you're giving them information before we even have a first conversation with them. So the interaction is much more valuable, and it helps the customer feel like they're educated enough to make a buying decision. And with something like a battery where it's so new and they're not quite sure what they need, that calculator helps them better get an understanding of, hey, I really should only be talking about partial backup with this company. And if anybody comes over here offering me a whole home solution at this price point and all I need is this, then I really don't want to keep talking to those guys. I want to really talk to someone who's meeting my needs there. And so that interaction that they get up front with you guys goes so long and the experience the homeowner has that it helps us just continue the conversation once pass them over to us and continue to carry the ball forward. So keep up the good work with that stuff.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man. Like, I am really proud of the content we have online now. Like, some of it's written by journalists who are deeply invested in the solar industry, and some of it's made by software engineers that, you know, and data scientists. So, you know, we do want to be like a good face for the industry. Like we want to be a business like anybody else. So we want to, you know, probably about 2% of the people, the 10 million people or so a year that go to our site, probably about 2% decide they want to quote for solar. The other 98%, they just gather information and go away. But that's fine, because if you know, if that information is accurate, you know, it might not be their right time to buy or whatever, or they might decide, well, based on the information, the accurate information I've got, well, I'm going to move home next year, I'll wait and I'll do it after, and that's fine. Like, that's for them to decide. You know, and I'm proud of the role we play in giving.
I'm happy that you have that role that you've created, because it's so important that you meet the customer where they're at. It's a lifestyle change. And if you're giving them value, that interaction you have with them, even though they may not follow all the way through, is very, very valuable, because solar keeps evolving. People continue to have reasons to come and check it out. And what you thought you saw or thought you knew may not even be true a day later.
Exactly.
So keeping on top of that and having a place to go where you're saying your team is focusing on it, the customer doesn't have to continue to do all the research. Just go to solarreviews.com, take a look around, stay up to date, sign up for any subscriptions, and then you're going to have more information to help it when it's the right time for them. You know, it's like, you think about a renter today who maybe wants to buy a home, right? They could start their research today, and then when they're looking into homes, find a home that's a great solar candidate, tons of potential, as opposed to one that doesn't have the potential. It's not the right utility, it's too shaded, there's not enough roof space, there's tons of things. The roof's too old. Like, they could get educated before even making an acquisition on a first home. And then they could really be off to the races on saving on their power bill. One of the biggest expenses a house has is utility payment. And it could come from just an interaction on your website, you know, exploring around, poking around. That's why I'm like, man, we're with you 6 years. Every year it keeps getting better and better and better.
Good. I'm glad. It does for us too, man. Like, it's been really cool. I want to drill back onto one thing I like about what you guys do is I really like, and people that have listened to my videos and watched my editorial over the years, like, I really like solar companies that do their own installs and employ their own install crews, because, and for those of you that haven't sort of, you know, read any or listened to any of my other editorial on this sort of topic, when you outsource installation to outsource crews, and a lot of that happens in the solar industry, it's not always bad, but the risk that crew who's just doing it for a fixed fee per kilowatt install, they don't really care about you long term as a customer. And so one thing I like about Renu is that, you know, by installing your own crews, they tend to take a lot more pride in their installation and how they leave the customer's home.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have an end-to-end company from first call to final call. You're talking to a Renu W-2 employee. We're not subcontracting the roof work. We're not subcontracting the electrical work. It's all of our own engineers who are putting this together, so we have pride in the work that we do. And it's continued to serve us over time, and that's why I've been 12 years in business. It's not always the easy way, right? And a lot of times you're going through attics, you're going through crawl spaces, you're having to do all these things that are, you know, very work and labor intensive. It's not easy work going through there, but we pride ourselves on being able to make good solar blend in with the home, blend with the aesthetics. It's easy to just run a copper wire over a rooftop to get to the inverter today. But what does that do to the third home purchaser on that house? You're not trying to sell to the fifth homeowner that you have this wire all over the top of your roof. We think about the legacy systems because ultimately most people are in their home 7 to 10 years. So this system that's 25-year warranty will be passed over several times. So we want to make sure we're designing and considering it not just for the first homeowner who wants to save, but for when they go to resell and that homeowner goes to resell, they have a very aesthetically.
It's got to add value to the home. It's got to be a nice system. And if you can avoid conduits, exposed conduits and that, take the time to do it.
And all the gutter line, go through the soffit, if you can blend it at the edge.
Exactly.
Things that can be done.
You know? Make it look neat and tidy. Take it, it's like an extra 2 hours on an install sometimes. and it'll be good for the next 25 years instead of being ugly.
Some of our installers pride themselves on that work, like a piece of art. Like they know.
Oh, my boys do at home too. Absolutely.
I love showing the pictures off. Love being like,
on Snapchat, I would have photos of installs that the boys have done over the last few days, and like, you know, they're proud of their work. And sometimes the boys, when they're out, they see other shitty systems, they take photos of that.
Yeah, it's true. And you can notice bad solar. People recognize when something is out of place.
Well, you see rows of panels that like aren't square, and it's like,
you see a system well installed, you hardly know it's there. It's blending into the contours of the roof. You know, it's contiguous with the roof. It looks like glass all up there. I mean, it can look really, really beautiful.
I don't mind
done right.
panels.
You know, I mean, and that's just one of those elements that Renu brings to the table, being an end-to-end installer with all of our own employees. Paying attention to details, because we know this customer's with us for a long time. We want to have that honeymoon phase last as long as possible. And if it's on the front of a home and the homeowner's driving up to it every day after work, we want them to feel prideful that I made a good decision to put this out there. It's not only saving me money, but it looks great too. And you become the talk of the neighborhood, which isn't
which is good for business for you, good for them. It's a win-win, you know. Like, and you know, I was saying before when I was talking to Adam and Joe from another solar company, that's the great thing about our industry. When we do good work, we make money, we can pay our employees well. Our customers save money, so they've made an economically wise choice, and the planet's better. Particularly when battery storage now, like, I'm so much more proud of the solar industry, and I'm really happy to hear what you told me about 65% attachment to batteries. Because to grow up as a solar industry, we need to attach to batteries. We need to deal with the fact that solar is inherently intermittent and turn it into a base load resource by adding that battery storage. Then I feel like we're properly grown up. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, you think about the early conversations, it was lead acid batteries, boat batteries. Okay, great. You had to maintain it and turn it off or replace it every few years. Those days are so far gone, but a lot of people may not know that the technology today is so practical and viable that it's a long-term preset backup system. It's seamless. It turns on the second an outage is noted. And we have those conversations. We've learned that it's better that you present the option of a battery every time, because when a homeowner is going through this buying process and they weren't aware of the battery or of that option, but they find about it later, they start to regret their decision a little bit more, because they're like, wow, I would have spent an extra $25, $40 on my monthly payment with my loan to be able to have battery backup, you know, and have that security and peace of mind. You know, so presenting it every time is what's allowed us to get to that attachment rate, because more times than not, somebody sees the value in having energy that's produced locally during the day on their roof, get put into a battery for storage to be used at night, and extend that clean energy long into the night when they're asleep. And the next day the sun comes out, it recharges the battery. The cycle continues. They don't have to deal with a generator, the noise, the power cords, the gasoline or whatever. Like, that's not a thing that's a part of that backup, but they're still able to use their lights. The fridge is still cold. They're still feeling like comfortable, you know, where if you didn't have that solution, you know, you're looking for alternatives, maybe stay in a hotel that night. You know.
Oh man, like, I got a little farm where I live in the Adelaide Hills and in Australia, and so we tend to slaughter a cow every now and again and put it in the freezer. And, you know, one time we had a long power outage. I remember before I had batteries, so it was quite a few years ago. And I came home and there's just the freezer, you know, had thawed out, and there's just, you open it and there's like blood, like shit all over the floor, and it's just like, oh man, I'm getting batteries. And at that point, it's not an economic argument. I don't get what they cost. I'm getting them.
If you weighed in the spoilage cost, the fuel charges.
Even that one time was probably $1,500 worth of meat.
Oh my goodness. Like sometimes
2 full freezers of meat. You know.
I mean, you're like, okay, that ROI makes a little bit more sense when the fact of replacing everything that's now gone bad, right? So those things matter. EV charging and batteries and vehicles that have the ability to hold and then disperse back into the home, for lighting, that's common in a meaningful way. So it's not just home batteries, right? You also have vehicles that can also help. I mean, that technology is just expanding so quickly that, you know, the train is at the station. It's like, finally, guys, and we know it's taken a while, but
do you know what? Actually, I don't know a lot about that, but it's something. And for those of you that might not have picked up what John was saying, it's this idea, the electric cars, obviously they have batteries in them. So rather than just having that battery capable of powering the car while it's moving, there's also an opportunity to intelligently use the power in the battery in the car to actually power homes, and not only homes, potentially provide grid stabilization, frequency stabilization service to the grid. But do you know, and the only real problem is quite a small technical problem really, it's just making the cars so that those the charging from the charging station to the car battery can be bi-directional.
Correct.
And have any car manufacturers actually done that yet, or?
Yes.
Oh, they have.
Lightning has an F-150 that will plug in back up the power to your home. The biggest problem is if you're not at home, you don't have ability to back up the power if the power's out.
Yeah.
So there's still a need for both solutions.
Yeah.
It's just one of those fantastic options that are available now that is possible.
Yeah, I mean, probably people will end up with a small amount of home battery storage and then the car as well.
Yes.
So they'll have some battery storage when they're not home, if the car's not at home.
Right.
The ability to at least keep fridges on them or whatever, but then they'll run all night off the battery, in their car, and then they'll charge it in the early evening, like when power's still expensive, up to whatever 9 or 10 o'clock, when the peak period ends, and then they'll charge both the car and the battery, the little home battery, up overnight. And with time of use billing, it'll be the ultimate in low cost living and 100% clean living.
Exactly, the clean dream, right? And that's what Renu Energy Solutions with our energy specialist team does fantastic, because everybody's lifestyle is dynamic. We're not trying to make everybody wear the same size hat. We know that people's needs are different. We recognize that, and we all use energy, right? At the end of the day, it's all the same thing. It's a kilowatt hour that we're using. So we just want to make sure we're optimizing it to lifestyles that are maybe more active or less active and have more need or less need. And something like that is one. So one thing that we're noticing a lot more about now is the thing of a virtual power plant. Familiar with that?
Yeah, I was talking with Keith from Generac about that before, and there are some utilities that are really like Rocky Mountain Power in Utah, and then some utilities in California as well. That really, and even from what I hear, XL in Colorado, there's some utilities that are starting to now change their view of the solar industry. So like, hey, these batteries out there, they can help stabilize our grid. They can reduce the need for billions of dollars of capex to get from, the wind farms to the last mile. By putting that battery storage down there, we don't have to spend billions on these transmission networks.
That's amazing stuff, and it's coming out more and more, and it's really a beautiful system. It's a network. It's all the homes with the batteries linked together on the software platform. The homeowners can subscribe into that network or not. If they do, there's some incentive there for allowing the utility to use some of their excess unused battery, and the utility will then control the discharge at certain levels. So we were able to avoid some blackouts here in California by discharging several microgrid or home battery systems and treated it like one big system. And that's so important that we keep thinking like that, we keep trying to push what can solar do next, because it's like, all right, we know solar works, we know the sun's there every single day, right? So solar panels, like, that is a given, right? Now it's like, what can we do with that extra power? Put it into a battery. How do we leverage that with a car? And it's just, it's exciting to see this just at this convention. So many different companies now. This is the largest convention I've seen for the solar international, for the batteries, for the EV chargers, all under one roof here. The relationships that are being formed, the connections that are being made, it's going to continue to just set this rocket ship up. And you'll see us here very quickly with more virtual power plants, more homeowners choosing to go with storage, better returns on their investment by optimizing their solution, and just overall happier people because they're being overcharged. And at the end of the day, we're reducing the carbon footprint, which ultimately is one of the biggest reasons I think we should all be doing it. Fact is, right? I mean, sea level, whatever you want to call it.
Oh man, I was just in the Champagne region last week, I think. And they always, you know, for hundreds of years, they've picked their grapes in the first week of October.
Yeah.
And then over the last 20 or 30 years, it's gradually slipped into the middle of September. And this year was the first year ever they picked in the last week of August.
What?
That is only over 30 or 40 years, man.
That's significant.
And then, all these people are like, nothing's going on, man.
I mean, you know,
it was cold today, so global warming isn't real.
Like, I think if people just get attached to the label. Like, that's what I'm saying. Call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, to me, it's parts per million in the atmosphere.
Yeah. And you can measure that shit.
If I take food dye and I keep putting it in the water, eventually I'm going to see that thing go from a little hue to a very dark color.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing. It's just sort of invisible. You can't really quite see it without the right technology. And when we're producing clean local energy at the rooftop and not having it be dug out of the ground from sunlight from generations ago, right? They were then putting it in the atmosphere. Like, that stuff ends up actually affecting the ecology of the whole network. And that's where I just love solar and sustainability, because it's a win-win-win when done right. But it can be done wrong so many times. And that's where SolarReviews comes in to make that mitigate.
And that's why, to be honest, that's why I started SolarReviews here, is because in Australia I saw that when the residential solar boom took off earlier in Australia, probably 4 or 5 years before the States. So there was Germany, and then there was probably Spain and Australia took off just after, and then Germany sort of petered out a bit because the incentive sort of things went away once they sort of had a lot of solar on their grid. But one of the things I am somewhat proud of is over the years there's been a lot of people that haven't been able to flourish doing dodgy shit because SolarReviews has exposed it.
You see? I love the fact that you are transparent, honest on your site. There's not buying into reviews with you guys. It's not
you can't hide. Nobody, no matter how big a client, can't hide a review. We don't make any up. They are what they are, man. Exactly. Do a good job out in the world and you'll reflect on our site.
And that's so important with today's age of consumers, where we depend on reviews more than ever. Right? You used to go to your neighbor, go to your friend. Well, now you can look at the aggregate of all the community who's gone through the experience. And, you know, we really focus on our presence on your website, because we know that that's a very common location people go to get information, and then they make a decision based off who they see. And so we want to be presented in the best light on there. If we go and do a bunch of shoddy work, it's going to reflect poorly on us online.
It will.
And that will stay with us. There's no control. You're not just like, well, hey, if you pay me, I'll take it down. No, that's not.
We don't do that.
That's not the case, right? For the betterment of the industry, right? And for the protection of the consumer.
Well, it just means that now, I feel like even now, compared to 2 or 3 years ago, there's less of the really spammy. There are some big ones that are still horrible. We don't deal with them, but unfortunately, there would be a lot more horrible solar companies out there if it wasn't for SolarReviews. Because we make it harder for them to be that way.
It's so true. I mean, nobody wants to feel like they've been misled. Nobody wants to feel like they made a bad decision in doing something like this. They had the right intentions. They wanted to do it for the right reasons. They just got hooked up with the wrong company that did it. And then sometimes it's hard to back out of those things, right? So it's construction done at your house. It's affixed to your roof. It's on your property. There's all sorts of connections and paperwork and permits tied to it. It's not exactly easy to just do that. And so it's really, really important that they do their research. And when they do their research, they're finding credible sources. So we want you to rise to the top and be one of the first ones that show up when they search solar installer near me, or North Carolina solar installer, you know, and there's SolarReviews, and you know, the first few installers that have great reviews on your platform pop up, making the journey to the homeowner to be easier to get to the right information. You know, and so that's where it's important to us to just continue to deepen the relationship with you guys, so that we have not only a great presence online, but we make sure that we're up to speed with what you guys are sharing with the homeowners. Because it starts with you guys, right? We are an extension of SolarReviews. At the end of the day, you know, you're gonna get them in touch with the best installer that they choose, and then we want to just keep moving that conversation forward and make it seamless throughout the whole journey. And so when a homeowner gets a call from us, they're excited, they're motivated, they're like, finally, I'm ready to take that next step. What does this mean for me?
Good people to talk to.
Exactly, and that's that journey that we're on now, because we've seen enough bad Wild West solar tactics. We've matured over the last couple of decades. It's not like, you know, unregulated. I mean, there's regulations, the utilities have requirements, it's actually a very, very safe investment, you know, for people to consider. And where do I put my money now? If it's not the stock market, if it's not real estate, put it into a solar system, connect it to the grid, let that thing just make money every time it's sunny out, and you're going to be very happy with the returns that you can.
What's the payback? I mean, I know it'd be different from South Carolina, North Carolina. In each state, what's the average payback you're seeing on systems based on where things are at now?
I mean, it varies, right? In South Carolina, you're 55% able to recoup.
So
you're like south of 10 years. In North Carolina, you're north of 10 years. You know, it's not really the payback market like a California where it's such an obvious thing to do.
Like anyone in California that hasn't got solar panels on their house is crazy.
If they can do it, they should. If they haven't done it yet, well, what's holding you back? You know? So there's those things. But in our market that's maturing, it's growing. We live in a very low cost of power state. So it's not as obvious from like cost per kilowatt hour mathematical. It comes down to more about the investment.
How much is power in both states? I mean,
it's around 10.5 cents.
Yeah, so it is cheap. So solar's got its work cut out to be economically competitive with that.
Exactly, and that's where time of use is somewhat affected it because peak times have gone up over 10.5 cents. And that's where in North Carolina they're trying to like, hey, no, don't go to time of use just yet. Where people aren't quite ready for that dynamic where, you know, in the middle of the day, maybe 3 o'clock, it's now 25 cents. You know, like they like to keep it low. But in South Carolina, at certain times, peak time, off-peak time, it can range from, you know, 8.5 cents up to 20 cents. You know, you're looking at a pretty big shift in the price on the electric bill. So that's where batteries are there to be like, hey, power's really expensive right now, use the battery. You know, hey, power's cheap right now,
charge the battery.
And so it's like a lifestyle change, right? But you may not run the dishwasher at the typical time, right? Or you might, you know, it just kind of depends. But the Carolinas is maturing. And like I mentioned, I mean, it's like a top 10 solar states in the country. And
is it top 10 in residential, or is that because I know particularly in South Carolina, there's a lot of utility solar?
Oh, yeah. Residential's in top 10 as well.
Is it? Okay.
I mean, it is just growing. There's a lot of Western companies looking for new markets. You know, so they're looking at Carolinas. We're like a Goldilocks. We're not too hot, not too cold. You can install year round. You know, you're dealing with composition shingle, asphalt shingle most of the time. You know, it's very, very nice for a solar perspective. And I'm not giving that out so everybody can come join us. You know, at the end of the day, Renu Energy Solutions has been here, stays here, wants to be here, right? And making life easy for everybody. But it is a fantastic opportunity for people to look at it. And when done right, I mean, I've had 2 systems myself in North and South Carolina. It's a absolutely great investment, a safe place to put the money.
It is, like, if you got money in the bank earning almost nothing, you're going to get a lot more return on it with on your roof doing work for you. You know, saving on your power bill. So
I mean, you look at the financing, right? That's been around only a few years. You can get solar like I did for no money up front, right? The loan went straight from the solar company. Right? They work directly with Renu. And they did all the stuff on the back end. I just make the fixed monthly payment every month. I know exactly what it's going to be. And I didn't make that first payment until 60 days after it was installed. So my system was already turned on before I even made my first solar payment. You know, and that monthly payment was lower than my average without solar. And so it's like, that to me makes very common sense. Even if I sell my home, which I will, I did it already one time. The loan's transferable to a new homeowner, so they can pick up the monthly payment right where I had left off. And or I could put it into the sale of the home.
You can pay it off, and then recoup that on the extra value you get on your house.
My ROI was day one.
And Zillow did a big study a couple of years ago. They recommended on average that, you know, the average system like adds about 4.1% in value. So, you know, you're not spending money. It's like putting a new kitchen in your house. You're not spending money. You're investing in the value of your house.
It's a fixed aspect.
The money's not gone.
Right, exactly.
You know, and it lasts for 25, 30 years. So it doesn't decay at a rapid rate. So
my first home, $75 monthly bill on a $130 average before that. Sold the home 5 years later, the homeowner took it over, picked up the monthly payments where they left off. 2 years later, sold the home to a third homeowner. That homeowner reached out to me, just wanted to make sure everything was kosher. I was like, yep, that's the monthly payment, still the same. So now 10 years later, that system has had 2 other homeowners under it.
Yeah.
They're benefiting from it, and it cost me nothing to have it installed.
Yeah.
I was just making monthly payments like I usually was.
But
already, I'm just
it's either that payment on the electricity bill.
Which I would rather put towards a solar loan, an investment in my home.
Yeah.
And when I went to sell it, I got the comps of the home in the neighborhood. I got the average price per square foot. I added 5% to that price per square foot, and I made sure it was appraised at that by putting my utility bills on the counter when the appraiser came through.
Yeah.
He could see my pre-solar 12 months of bills, my post-solar 12 months of bills, and it was enough for him to validate the fact that that home I got more value because of the solar.
Yeah.
And I got my home sold in one day at the asking price that I had put up 5% over comps. So, I mean, just personal experience. Here I am again with my second home, have a solar system again. Interest rates went down even lower than my first one. I got interest rates now lower than a mortgage. Right? It's a fantastic opportunity to get a good, solid investment, set it up for the long term. And I have 20-year loan. I mean, I'm not going to be there 20 years. I'll probably move in about 5, but I'll do it again. I'll transfer it to the next homeowner or put it in.
We'll pay it out, whatever.
Either way, I'm enjoying savings day one that it's turned on. You know, I'm producing it locally on my roof. I'm not paying taxes and fees. I'm getting my power delivered to me. And truthfully, I'm a net contributor to the grid. So I actually put more power into the grid than I've taken from the grid. And they show that on my bill statement. So in April, I actually got $272 credited to my account. And my bill every month is negative because they keep taking the minimum facilities charge, the basic charge, right? So they keep paying that down on the credits that overproduction I gave them. I mean, I'm looking at over almost 2 years of minimum connection charges paid from just 1 year's of production. That is significant, and that is something I'm just walking the talk. I'm not just trying to fire. I'm like, hey, man, I want to make sure I'm also following these steps. My storage is coming. I have a great opportunity now because of the new technology that I've seen. Like, yes, that is what I've been looking for. Bigger capacity battery. It's going to hold my charge longer. I don't need a big system on the storage side. I just need to kind of get through.
Which one are you thinking of going for your storage?
You may not know it, but it's LG.
Okay.
The LG has a brand new battery coming out. We'll see if it's available production-wise. I don't need to be the first one. Customers first. But I really
LG have been a very good battery company. Like they've resin batteries and
for a long time. They have their own chemistry department. I mean, they're fantastic.
LG is a very good company. Like,
I have their panels, I have their fridge, I have their dishwasher,
and
dryer,
you're an LG man.
It just so happens that they have a battery now I can put with my system. I know. I'm like this kind of brand loyal like that, but it's there now, and they've had a different one for a while. It was a 10 kilowatt hour battery. Not bad at all, but I have a 17 kilowatt system. So the capacity was not quite the right fit. But this battery over here is expandable, and
that is one thing I've always liked about the expandable sort of. I forget with the Resus whether they were 2.5 blocks or 3 kilowatt blocks that you could expand them by. But that's one thing I always thought was kind of cool about them.
It is. I mean, it's like a remote control car at this point. It's like putting the D cell batteries in there, more power, more capacity. Where do we want to go? I mean, it operates just the same. Your cell phones. I mean, it's all the same sort of lithium-ion, lithium phosphate technology that is just enabling us to do this stuff now. You know, there's no generator you got to wheel out. Propane you got to fill up. Extension cord, make sure there's no exhaust and it's in the garage. I mean, those things are dangerous. They're effective because we need them when we need them, right? But if there's an alternative and it's already pre-wired, that's where it's like, let's look at this again. Let's look at it again. Let's do some research. Let's review what options we have, and let's see who can come make it an actual reality for us and install that, because it's not good by itself. It has to be a system. A working system. A panel has to be connected to the inverter. The inverter has to go to the power supply, right? Your circuit panel. That has to go to the battery. I mean, any one of those by itself isn't going to work. So
you need a whole system.
You need a whole system. So Renu Energy Solutions looks at the holistic system to help make sure we're considering everything throughout that whole process to help ensure that it's a smart, reliable solar investment. You know, and that's why I'm just like, so it relieves me to see where we are today.
Yeah.
Even though I've been doing this for 15 years, I feel like we have so far to go. It's the second inning of a 9-inning game. You know? But no better time than now to jump in, you know?
John, it's been lovely, man. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on the success you're having at Renew and your contribution to the industry, man.
To you.
I appreciate it greatly, and pass on my regards to Jay and the rest of the team, and just say we appreciate the fine work you're doing.
Thank you. Same to you. Andy, man, Solar Reviews, you guys are changing the world one lead at a time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.